Islam being introduced to Arabian tribes and individuals in Dhul Qadr, the 10th year of prophethood, July 619. The Prophet returned to Mecca to resume his activities. The time for pilgrimage to Mecca was approaching, so he hastened to introduce both tribes and individuals to Islam, and call upon them to embrace it, just as it was his practice since the 4th year of his prophethood. On the authority of Az-Zuhri, of the tribes that Islam was introduced to, we could speak of Banu and people of Hadramaut. Islam was not introduced to them in one single year, but rather repeatedly from the 4th year till the last pre-migration season of pilgrimage. They, however, remained obdurate, and none of them responded positively. The following is a resume of aspects relating to the Prophet's appeal as regards the new faith he was preaching. He visited a sept of Banu Kalb, known as Banu Abdullah. He called them to Allah's message and entreated them to accept it, for the sake of Allah, who had chosen a beautiful name for their father, but without avail. He called on Bani Hanifa in their habitation, but received very repugnant treatment. He addressed Bani in their encampment, calling them to abandon idolatry and join him. One of them, called Bohera, answered him back, "Should we give you allegiance and Allah give you power over your opponents? Will you give us right to inheritance and succeed you in power?" The Prophet replied, "The whole affair lies in Allah's hands. He gives the power to whomever He desires." The man commented to you, "Expect us to incur the wrath and vengeance of the Arabs without the least hope of leadership. We can in fact readily dispense with your offers." When Banu returned to their habitations, they narrated the story of an elderly man who had lingered behind because he was too old. They told him a young man of Quraysh, Bani, claiming that he is a prophet, contacted us, asked for support, and invited us to embrace his religion. The old sheikh was struck by the news and wondered if there was no way of making amends for the loss of that opportunity, and swore he is really Ishmaelite. He descends from Ishmael. He is the truth. He is a real prophet. How did it happen that you misjudged his words? The Prophet was not dismayed at all. He persisted in his mission, for the fulfillment of which he had been commissioned to strive despite all odds. He did not confine his efforts to the tribes, but also conducted contacts with individuals, from some of whom he was able to receive a favorable response. Moreover, later in the same season, some of them did believe in his prophethood and entered the fold of Islam. The following list included some of those early converts. He was an intelligent, discreet poet from Yathrib, Medina, during his stay in Mecca for pilgrimage or lesser pilgrimage. He encountered the Prophet, who invited him to embrace Islam. At this invitation, Suwaid imparted to the Prophet some sound words from the Luqman's wisdom. The Prophet approved of that wisdom, but told the man that he had something far better. He recited some verses from the Quran. The man listened meditatively, and the words appealed to his originally pure nature, and accepted Islam as his faith at once. He was killed in the Battle of Bu'ar, that was in the 11th year of the prophethood. As he was still a youth from Oz tribe, he came as a member of delegation seeking alliance with Quraysh against another rival tribe dwelling in Medina. The Prophet met them and advised them to follow a better course than that they had in mind. He introduced himself and Islam to them, apprised them of his mission, and narrated some verses from the noble Quran. Ayah's heart immediately absorbed the divine message and agreed with the Prophet. Abu Hazar, a member of the delegation, disapproved of the boy's behavior and silenced him by hurling some dust into his face. The people then left Medina after having failed in establishing alliance with Quraysh. Shortly after arrival in Medina, the boy breathed his last, acclaiming Allah's name and celebrating his glory. Abu Dar, he used to live in the suburbs of Yathrib. News of the Islamization of Suwaid and Ayas reached him and constituted a turning point in his life per se. He sent his brother to Mecca for more details about the Prophet's intentions. The man came back and reported to Abu Dar that the said man enjoined good and forbade evil. Abu Dar was not satisfied and decided that he himself should go out and probe the real situation. After some attempts to identify the person of the Prophet, he managed to meet him, though not without some difficulties due to the antagonistic atmosphere within which the proponents of the new faith were trying to work their way. No sooner than Abu Dhar was exposed to the real nature of Islam, he embraced it despite the Prophet's earnest plea not to divulge his new move. Abu Dhar went directly to the holy sanctuary, where he publicly declared that he had testified to the oneness of Allah and prophethood of Muhammad. The heathens all around hurried and began beating him. He almost died when Al-Abbas intervened, warning against killing someone whose tribe was in full command of the strategic commercial caravan routes leading to Mecca. The event recurred in the following morning, with the same man to come to the scene and rescue him. Tufail, he was an honest poet and chief of the Al-Duwas tribe, inhabiting an area close to Yemen in South Arabia. He arrived in Mecca in the 11th year of prophethood. Great reception ceremonies were accorded to him on his advent, and the Meccans soon started to inculcate in his ears all sorts of antipathy against the Prophet. They even alleged that he had caused the most horrible societal schism, dividing all sorts of social life. Even the family ties were subject to his schemes and plans of dissension. They even warned him against speaking or even listening to him. The man, overpowered by these pleas, complied by their request. He even stopped his ears with a piece of